Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back once more to the Champions Corner here with the Pasadena Grand Open champion, Ryan Matas. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Well, I'm Matas. You can just call me. I'm doing well. Feeling really good after the win. Finally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point. I want to make sure that I really have to make sure it's crystal clear in this Champions Corner. You are clearly gearing up to be Player of the Year for Battle Spirit Saga. You have done a ton of tops and, of course, like the 1/9 place, but I'm pretty sure you've topped every other event you've been to, if I'm not mistaken. But give us a quick rundown of your overall performance, just to keep us honest, so the players at home know like how far you've done this year so far.
Okay, so I just had this first place at the Pasadena Grand Open, and then I had a top 4 finish at the New Jersey Pro Tour, and then top 8 at the Utrecht Grand Open, top 8 at the Monroeville Grand Open, top 8 at the Ohio Grand Open, and top 8 at the Palm Springs Grand Open, and then 9th place at Tulsa. Didn't do so hot at the most recent Pro Tour, but we don't talk about that one.
Nah, that's everyone's allowed one, right? That's definitely the what we can say at least, or the team nap. I know that we all like to joke about in the community as well, or the yellow nap, whatever we're gonna call that one. But if you know, you know. But Matas, other than Battle Spirits, well, actually Battle Spirits, right, and Battle Spirits Saga, but outside of the Battle Spirits IP, what other card games have you played? What other, what got you started in TCGs, and what did you play before Saga?
Okay, so I've been playing card games for quite a long time. I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! When Legend of Blue Eyes came out. So right at the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! Around 2002. So I played Yu-Gi-Oh! All the way from the beginning up until Teledad. And then I quit for the first time then, and then I played off and on up until like the Insector wind-up format, and then I never played that again. Other than Yu-Gi-Oh, I played a lot of Magic. I played a lot of just like random other TCGs, like the Inuyasha trading card game, the Duel Masters, the Yu Yu Hakusho trading card game, Kaijudo. I played a little bit as well. Cardfight Vanguard, Y Schwartz. One of the big ones, like my second love of card games, if Yu-Gi-Oh was the first, the second would have been the Naruto trading card game. And around that time, there was also a few other Bandai card games like the Dragon Ball clone of Naruto, and then Battle Spirits, of course, which came out around 2009, I believe. And then, let's see, I played Shadowverse and Hearthstone for a while. My third love of card games would have been Force of Will, actually, which I believe is where I met you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I played Force of Will for a while. After Force of Will, I just played Magic for a little bit. Then I took a little bit of a break from card games. And then before Battle Spirit Saga, I was playing Selector Infected Wheatcross for a little while. And I quit that when Battle Spirits came out. I probably missed a bunch of like miscellaneous card games I played, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, definitely a veteran around the card game scene, no less. And also, I'm starting to notice a pattern here between the different champion corners that we've done. There seems to be a common thread between champions and starting in Yu-Gi-Oh! And now, of course, some people might also have played Magic or Pokemon at one point, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Seems to be the common theme that's pulling all of these together. So, hey, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, come on over to Battle Spirit Saga, and you probably got a leg up on everyone by the sounds of it. But obviously, again, Matas, huge congrats on the win. I know you're feeling very good that you finally got to cross that finish line after, again, top 8 is nothing to sneeze at these events, both with the competition that we have going to these events. Obviously the prize money is really good, and you just had a chance to bring it home and win the $7,000. And also, again, I'm a little bit jealous because the Scotty mats that we have, that because we don't have the online events, there's only going to be 6 of those ever in the entire world. And it looks so good. I saw it in Netherlands when they had it. Oh, yeah, you're going to show it up?
It's beautiful.
Oh, man. I really wish, and I put it on, Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it these days. I put a photo out there and I put it in the Discord. It just looks so much better in person. And on the website, you can see it, but you can't see like the high quality version of it. So, they did not do it justice in those prizing sheets that they have on the website, but it does look great. And the last one, or I guess the last one ever other than Liverpool, I guess depending on when the time I get to publish this, Liverpool may or may not have happened already, but the last one beyond that is Atlanta. So that's going to be a big one. But how about yourself? Are you, obviously you have your win, which is going to qualify you for the Pro Tour. You got Worlds coming up, but what's your thoughts on Atlanta? Are you going to be able to make the trip? Is it something you're looking forward to? And if you are going, what are you thinking about playing?
Yeah, I should be going to Atlanta. I pretty much decided, yeah, I'm going. I'm not really sure what I'm going to play yet. So I was thinking about playing Gale for Pasadena, and I still kind of want to play it for Atlanta, just because I want to finish my Infinity Gauntlet, because I just need green and blue, and I've talked with everything. So it'd be nice to play with Gale, but I'm not really sure yet. Like, I could see just running red back, just because I guess I'm a red player now. I don't know.
Hey, if whatever you win with is the player that I would be at the end of the day, right? If it's putting up results and it's helping me win the tournaments, I would play whatever color I want. But I played blue myself, and I think we can all agree that same with green in set 2. Blue just needs another set worth of support. I think it landed in a much better spot than green did in set 2. But I think Gale overall is a very safe pick. And for those that don't know what he was alluding to, that Montas has topped with basically every other color so far, and it really is going to be the first player who's able to have a top with each one of the colors. Because what we find time and time again is that a lot of players in Battle Spirits, or even like in Digimon and Dragon Ball, to be fair, people will gravitate to a color and just kind of stick with it and master it. And to be fair, in Bandai games, that is a lot about how they're designed, where it's you really become a expert in one of the colors or a play style that you like, and then just really know that color inside and out and know your matchups accordingly. And Battle Spirits isn't quite there yet from a deep enough card pool. It's getting there, but I think by the time set 4 rolls around and we get that first set where every color is getting equal support, and obviously with double symbols, I'm just going to say that cursed word, there's going to be a lot of power creep in set 4. I can almost just promise you that now with the double spirits, or the double symbol spirits. So I'm really excited to see where blue can come online with that. But going back to it, we're excited for Pasadena. You won it, but you played red mid-range. Talk us a little bit what brought you to play that deck, and then also just talk about, what was maybe your favorite card in the archetype overall.
Okay, so, oh man. So we did the back-to-back for the Pro Tour and then the Utrecht Grand Open. And then, of course, the following weekend was the Pasadena Grand Open. So we probably only had about 2 or 3 nights to test. Yeah, it was 2 or 3. I think it might have been 3. And, of course, our obvious thoughts were, okay, let's make a red deck that beats yellow and then hopefully has the best matchup into Gale that we can manage. And so in my mind, it was, of course, there's other decks that fit into the RPS, but in my mind, the main points of the meta were Gale beats red, red beats yellow, yellow beats Gale. And what I wanted to do was play the deck that, one, its good matchup, but also had the best chance of winning its weaker matchup, is how I was going into it. And so we were trying out all of the matchups, kind of, and we couldn't really get Gale into a good place against yellow. No matter what we did, it still just always felt horrible to play into yellow. So even though I wanted to play Gale, we had to scratch that one off pretty early. We were messing with red lists from pretty early on. We were collaborating a bit with Daniel Seidenberg and Alex Blandon, just sending lists back and forth. We played one of their red lists, and then which was more of a Scorch Battlefield list with some of the early drops, like Rain Needle and such. And then I was going more towards the mid-range area with Apollodynos, and I was originally playing the Guardian Dragon, but I ended up kind of hating it. So
not my boy, not my boy Trident.
Yeah. I was actually leaning towards yellow going into the event. So going into our last night of testing, Thursday into Friday, man, we were just trying so many different things. We hated every deck. We're oh no, I don't know what to do. None of us know what to do. And then it's 4 a.m. We don't know what we're doing. Zach still wants to test his purple deck. I'm oh my god, we don't have time for this. What are we gonna do? I'm leaning towards yellow just because it seems overtly the most powerful. Just the stuff you can do with yellow is crazy. And I was leaning towards that for that reason. Also, I just had the most practice on it, right? I played it in Utrecht. I a lot of times I draw hands with these red decks too, and I'm like, what is this bricky pile? Um, the but that was when I was playing the red dragon though. Alex and Daniel ended up cutting the guardian dragon, so I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. That probably makes the deck feel a lot smoother. Um, and then it wasn't until we were actually at our connection at the airport. I was leaning towards yellow, and it was maybe 7 p.m. the night before the event.
Oh no!
And we're at the connection, so we had to submit our deck list at the connecting flight because our flight didn't get there until like 11 p.m. So we're at the connection. It's like 10 minutes before we have to board. I'm like, crap, I don't know what deck to play. And Alex is like, no, just put the 4 Dream Bombs in the sideboard. It's good enough against Gale. Play red. And then Zach is like, every time Alex tells you to play a deck, you top with it. And I was like, all right, I'm locking in red, baby.
Yeah, that's something I gotta give a quick call out to. Like Bondi/TO/ I don't care who it falls on at this point anymore. Please let us submit lists the morning of. As someone myself that's been hit by travel plans where I ended up having to submit my list. It was like a Thursday night because I was like work to travel, then to miss the deadline sort of thing. Like, please help us out. We need a later deck submission time. All right, go ahead, continue. I have to get my quick grievance out of the way.
But yeah, pretty much I ended up locking it in because Zach was like, every time Alex tells you to play a deck and you pick it, you top with it. I'm like, you know what? That's true. I'm going to trust in Alex. So I was realistically in between yellow and red, leaning slightly towards yellow. But then I trusted in Alex, who said, the Dream Bombs make the Gale matchup manageable enough. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. I'll play red. So I locked in red. And then here we are. We won the tournament on another one of Alex's suggestions.
Hey, if it works, it works. That's all you can ask for at the end of the day. But, I think going into Liverpool, again, depending on what time I get this recorded and when it goes live and all that good stuff, but a lot of people are speculating that we're going to see a return of Gale because it has underperformed by all metrics so far. And then going into Atlanta, that we might see even more Gale once people have time to refine these lists and figure out what a sideboard plan actually looks like. Because if you go to Eggman's website, you can see the full top 16. And of course, you have your Hurricane Highlands, you have your Feng Huang and all that good stuff. And then the rest of the lists are just kind of all over the place. So it might be a little bit early to start this discussion, but I know a lot of people are excited for red because, well, red has just continued to do well, it turns out, through the life of the game so far. But as the red player who ended up winning, what did you find was important, other than the Dream Bombs out of the sideboard, but what are some important cards or lines that really helped you go up against Gale during the Pasadena event?
A lot of it was just being able to have early aggression and just just keep pushing into them. And because the deck can definitely be a bit clunky, it can brick, it can have its weak early starts. There's a lot you can do to just be aggressive early game and just try to get them low as quickly as possible and just try to end the game. Really, the main thing that is really scary in the matchup is just Fang Bomb, and that's why the Dream Bombs were important. Was just because you just try to keep bouncing it and end the game before it kills you, basically. So I guess the important cards, just having your early curve is really important. A big thing was actually, so people are playing Arune or the Green Guardian a lot. And it's so weird because when I have the Starbless draw and I get to draw 4, I'm feeling pretty good on it. But when I don't have an out to it, it feels really miserable to play against. So it's important to have the Apollodinus and the Volcanic Canyon so that you can always kill it at 8k. Because if they just get to ride the Arame, it's a real pain to deal with. It's the Dragno King helps you get through a lot of the Beldegor triggers because you can stack the triggers so that the guy blocks, you kill it, then they bring back the Beldegor, then Dragno King's effect will kill the Beldegor. And just having Apollodinus as well can help you swing through what's he called, Jaeger and the Tokiwas, and they're immune to the Beldegor stuff. So I guess those are all kind of the key cards, and it's just keeping up the pressure.
Yeah, Apollo has been, I'm going to keep saying it's one of my top picks for set 3. I think as the meta gets a chance to evolve even more, it's going to continue to shine because there's so many times where we now have Ritual Fire in red hits everything 4K and less, and Apollo says, look, I'm going to take care of everything from 5K BP to 8K BP. So basically, red now has a control element for everything under 8K BP pretty easily. And then it's not uncommon. We did see in some of those other lists, they were running things like Charge Draw to give it another plus 2K. Or sometimes you just have more Volcanics, right? If you're really trying to dig for your answer, you get a couple Volcanics on board. It can do the same thing. But I am a Ruby Radiance believer. I know that's not as popular as an opinion just yet, but I'm going to stick with it. But, you know, red does have a lot of pump effects, so you can use it to get him to those thresholds anyway. So other than Gale, thinking back to your Swiss, was there any deck in particular that you found either very interesting, gave you a hard time, a certain archetype that you thought was really sweet, but obviously you were still able to win and overcome it, but it might be something you want to try in the future? Just what was interesting from your Swiss experience?
So I lost to Rex in Swiss, and when I got paired against him again in top 8, I was like, oh man, this matchup felt awful when I played him in Swiss, because it was like the Nova with the Gale stuff, and it ended up not being as bad as I thought once I thought it through more and I saw the list. But the Nova stuff can be a little bit hard to deal with, just because he goes so much bigger than I do. When I played Allende on stream against Yellow, I think it's just because he drew like all of his Freezatals every game. But even I thought I should have stomped him, because I played the Ritual Fires and the Burning Forces, but it was really hard for me to get through all of the Freezatals and not give him 1,000 cards. So it's like I Ritual Fire your 2 Freezatals, and he has another Freezetal and an Airvital, and it's like, oh my god, I killed your Nexuses and I still have to give you 30 cards to attack. What's going on? And then his version played Elephant and Enterprise.
Yep.
So it's like, oh man, that gave me a really rough time actually. And then let's see, and then I lost to Gale. Nothing else. I wasn't really too worried about much else actually. Come top 8, I was when I made top 8, I was praying that I wasn't going to be in 8th place to pair against the 1 kill deck again, because I lost to Gale in the final round and he was the undefeated. So I'm like, oh no, if I make top 8 in 8th place, I just pair against him again, and that's my worst matchup. But once he lost in top 8 and there was no more Gale decks left, I was feeling pretty good. Other than that, in Swiss, I played I played 2 Gale. I played Rex's Gale Nova deck. I played 1 yellow. I played a white aggro actually, which is really funny because this deck cannot lose to white aggro. With the Camellia Whips, the Ritual Fires, the Burning Forces, the Thorn Prisons, there was a turn where I had a double Camellia Whip out against him, and he just wanted to die. He's like, oh well, I can Valkyrie missed 1, but then what do I do? And I played 1 Red Mirror against Tim Rivera. I also played his teammate in top 4. And that was about it. The Red Mirror is interesting. I definitely, it feels a lot less toxic than the Terrorsaur mirrors were. Going first still matters a lot, but it's a lot more interesting than Chicana Rex I win.
Yeah, there's a lot more battle tricks to consider, BP thresholds to check, and especially sideboarding becomes a lot more interesting. I think that's one of the biggest pickups from set 3, at least in my limited, I shouldn't even say limited, I have been testing a lot now, I guess. But in my testing so far is set 3 is the first set that makes me wish we had a bigger sideboard, just because there's so many options that we could put into them. That said, a bigger sideboard would probably be a net negative for the game, just because of you being able to swap out entire engines and if you want to, and won't get into all that. But I do want to go back to Camellia Whip, because this is a card I know a lot of players were super loved and played it for a little bit, then hated it, but now super love it again. And as I was trying to build my green decks, I actually found out I realize how crazy this is to say, but it's Ant-Man Worker kind of sucks now. He's still very good, don't get me wrong, because of the, you still get a core, but going to this meta where now you have Camellia Whip, where it's going to stop the damage part, you still get a core, sure, great. You have more flood streams to worry about. Beldegor is an all-time high, getting splashed in multiple decks, like, whew, but Camellia Whip, 5k, he just shuts off a lot of purple and yellow. So how do you feel about that card going forward? Do you think it's going to remain a staple for the red decks in general, or do you think the 3 cores is something that's going to hold it back potentially?
Well, I like it. I feel like it's really good against purple and yellow. Like, purple, it's so nice that you just get to, like, set Starblast Draw behind it, and it's like, okay, do you activate my Starblast Draw, or you're not touching me? That's really nice. And against yellow, it's really good. It's interesting against Ant-Man, actually, because a lot of times I actually feel sick about its effect. Like, they attack me with the Ant-Man and I don't take damage. It's like, man, I kind of wanted that core, though. Like, like, you just get to attack with your Ant-Man and not even give me a core. I feel kind of bad about that. I felt like that was more often the case, actually, that I was like, damn it, I don't get to take the damage. I like that it's also just, like, an efficient early guy. And the main thing that's really punishing that right now is Floodstream. So I feel like if people play more Floodstream and like if people are actually like maining more copies like more frequently, then it might get a little bit worse. But right now I still definitely like it.
Yeah, 2-drops are definitely in a very difficult spot right now. It feels like just because of Floodstream, and blue probably getting hurt the most by this, funny enough, just because again our card pool is smaller, but losing out on things like our Bullet Top Dog when we really need those extra cores and stuff does not feel good. So yeah, the blue on blue hate is super real, it turns out. But other than Camellia Whip, obviously Dragno King being really good. But before we wrap up on this section, like any other card in red that you want to like give a shout out that was either super good, maybe overperformed for what you thought, or was it just a stock good red mid-range list that a lot of players can kind of use going forward and build off of?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty stock and you can build off of it. There's a few like things you can change. Like you could maybe play the red Guardian Dragon. Like he's fine. We just like so.
I love him. I'm sorry. I'm so biased. So I'm.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm like torn on the card, and so it's funny because we played the Ruby Sanctuaries, but not the Guardian Dragon. And the Ruby Sanctuaries, I liked them just for the tempo, really. So when we played them, I didn't actually expect to really draw cards, or at least going into the tournament. When I originally had them in my list, I was hoping to draw cards from them more often, and I saw that wasn't really going to happen. And okay, that's fine. We still included 2 copies, and I like them well enough just for the tempo. Like it's nice to just establish reductions and to just do it very cheaply. Like it's nice to be able to go first and maybe play 2-drop a Nexus, or go second and play Volcanic Canyon and then Ruby Sanctuary. That's pretty sick. It's great to just have these cheap reductions. And there are times where there's 1 or 2 games I would say the Ruby Sanctuary actually really won me the game because, for example, I was able to set up reductions early and play an early Andromeda and then core him up and funnel every turn, just eat a guy every turn. And then they're just kind of locked. And just Ruby Sanctuary helps you do stuff like that a lot better. And it also helps, just because there's also 11 mid to late game guys in the deck, it really helps. But at the same time, later in the tournament, I did end up siding them out a lot because it did feel bad to have a card, just spend a card on that. So I'm really torn on that. I liked it, but I hated it at the same time. And that was initially why I didn't want to cut the Dragon, was because man, I want a payoff for having this card. So yeah, maybe you could play the red dragon, maybe not. I'm torn on it. It's fine at the very least. And you could also cut the Ruby Sanctuaries. It sucks. I wish we could play Scorched, but it just interferes with Apollo too much.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But yeah, I'd still say it's a fine enough list that you can copy and use it. Dragno King was pretty good. 4 felt a little much sometimes, but it was impactful every time I played it. I've liked the card since the Pro Tour meta. I've just been a fan of it, especially losing the Volcanic Break or going down to 1 on Volcanic Break. It's nice to just have Dragno King, which does something similar. and you can do some funny things with like Awaken in it with the Apollo, and the Soul Core shenanigans. Um, but yeah, it's fine enough.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of Trident Dragon because it gives you this very proactive feel. Like you don't feel bad main phasing your Dream Bombs or Ritual Fires anymore because you're going to immediately get those cores back, but it does require you to be very heavy into that Sanctuary and Trident plan, where, as you probably felt throughout the tournament, just having Volcanic break on a body is pretty good, it turns out, especially when that body can get up to like 15k. Well, not easily because it is a good amount of cores, but it can get up to 15k or higher, which then is then beating through all the green Gale stuff that your opponent might be playing as well. So I think Dragno King just lends itself a little bit better for the more aggressive lines because of the big BP boost and because it is a removal guaranteed on a body. And then, as you mentioned earlier on, like to go back to the Beldegor comment, just sometimes you don't want to get walled out, and he's always just going to be that guy that says, nope, I'm going to get this trigger. Go ahead, bring back your Beldegor. Now I'm going to resolve my effect, kill it again. We're still swinging. Let's go, baby, right? It's just, it's a very good feel to have Dragno clear the way for you.
Yep, and that was probably part of the thing as well, is that like Apollo and Dragno King felt a little better into Gale than Trident Dragon did. And Gale was the one I was really worried about because it felt like it didn't matter which of the like high-end red guys were playing. Like Apollo and Dragno King are both insane against yellow. And whereas like, yeah, Trident Dragon's good against yellow, but it's like it felt less good against Gale. So it feels like if I'm specking for Gale, Trident Dragon's the one that you don't want to play.
Yeah, I gotta say, as someone who's yellow is still my second color, it's still what I enjoy playing. Having to deal with Ritual Fire and Trident Dragon in the same bloody set it's just unfair. I don't know what else to call it. Like, I know, red always beats up yellow, but my God, did they get a billion different counters for us in set 3.
And man, Ritual Fire is crazy. I guess actually that is the card that was overperforming, actually, now that you mention it. That card's crazy. And yeah, also, like you mentioned before, that with Apollo, they're forked. Like either way, it's like you play around Ritual Fire or you just get screwed by Apollo. That's kind of like the basis that the deck was built around almost. And that was really good. I also like something, not really so much about the cards, but something I like about the deck and something I like about playing red, I think in general, is I really like the game the most when nexuses aren't involved, actually. And that's something I like about red, is it's like, okay, you're not going to have a nexus against me, and I get to interact with you a lot during like combat and exchanging tempo and like through burst and magic cards. And I feel like that's when I like the game the most, is just like doing a lot of combat, like using a lot of spells, having a lot of like tempo back and forth. That's when I feel the game is at its most fun. Whereas I feel like nexuses, a lot of times games can devolve into, okay, my advantage engine is working better than yours, so I win the game. And I like with red that you just get to like avoid that a lot of the time. So I have been feeling actually that I have been becoming more of a red player, and that's probably why.
Oh no, red's got another one. But yeah, that's a great point too, because it's something that we see a lot of times, especially as someone who played a lot of blue recently. Like, we have strong draw, which is just filtering, and filtering is cool. It lets you see the combo pieces that you might be digging for, or you might just really want to find that Allegro more than anything else. So like digging one card deeper can be nice, but within card games in general, it does usually just come down to like, hey, card advantage is good, it turns out. And it is something that we'll see not get resolved completely in Battle Spirits, just in Battle Spirits side, just the way it's designed. But, you know, popping elephants still feels insanely good in white just because they are so limited. But I do hope it's something that we see a little bit more expansion of. Like, yeah, everyone got a Radiance card, I guess, so technically everyone got at least one draw spell that way. Bleh, right? Like, whatever. White's never going to play that. But I do feel that the game can be a little bit better from a color-to-color comparison if we saw better card advantages come online. White maybe doesn't need one as much because they still have the Mammoth Nexus that you have to deal with, or Newman City Nexus you have to worry about. But something like blue, where yes, you're filtering, but you just play these games where it's like, all right, turn 2, I now have 2 cards in hand, and that just feels like an awful spot to play from. But naturally, as the game speeds up, we get more like main deckable bombs and all that stuff with like set 4 right around the corner. I shouldn't say right around the corner, but coming up next, I'm sure double symbol spirits are going to be insane. Where hey, maybe strong draw is enough because we just have to find that key spirit, and then we can win the game that way. So I am very curious to see how the color dynamic shifts. And again, I think set 3 is overall in a pretty good place, but I would like to see a bit better card advantage engines get explored in the other colors. And again, the downside being if they are always going to be Nexus based, then red is always going to have an advantage no matter what you do. So maybe red is just best deck in format forever. Who knows? We'll see what set 4 brings our way.
Yeah, I would like for all the card advantage to not be Nexus based, for that reason being one, and also just there are a lot of games that feel stale because oh, you got your Nexus online, I didn't. Whereas if you look at the Gale deck, right, they don't have a Nexus that's their advantage engine other than there's Hurricane Islands, but that's not a card advantage engine, right? They get a lot of value through Tokiwa Beldegor loops, and that's actually pretty interesting. You could just get a lot of value worth of cards through just that, and that's a more interesting way to get cards. Or of course, white has Elephant. Purple just has its own it has Black Lance. It has Veldegor as its own color. Yeah, purple has draw power, whereas stuff like red and yellow, it's aside from Starless draw, it's just okay, your Nexus. Yeah, it's I don't know. And it was the same way with Netherworld depths as well, where it's yeah, you have your card advantage engine's gonna work way better than mine, so you win. So I would like to see us get more just cards that interact to create these ways that give us card advantage. That was probably poorly put, but
no, less Netherworld depths where it's just a blanket. You get punished for playing the game, and more stuff like Freeze It All that's going to put you into combat, or again, purple just getting all its draw effects. So there are other ways the colors do get to do it, but I think just with the way the game's designed, everyone wants an early Nexus just for the reduction's sake, because it just helps smooth out your additional turns. So I think Nexus will always play a role, but we don't need another Phantasmal Paradise, sort of thing anytime soon, although it is locked to Fable Beast, so that's kind of a give and take of it. So then hey, they just boost up Luster instead. Who knows? That is definitely going to be a interesting topic to see how set 4, or even TP promos, right? There could always be another lore set or a TP promo set that expands on that for each color, but we don't know what the product roadmap is looking like yet for year 2. Hopefully, Bandai, please let us know soon. That'd be great. I've been watching all these other card games put out their roadmap for next year already. I'm just sitting here all right, where's ours? But hopefully soon. But yeah, that was great. Again, huge shout out again to your win. And of course, with the last couple of minutes here, I always like to give it a chance to, have a shout out, thank your testing partners, anybody that you want to talk to, or give a shout out to that, helped you, shout out Alex Blandon, right, for giving you the list kind of last minute as you're hopping on the plane, taking snapshots of it. But all that out of the way, who do you want to give a quick shout out to, and thanks and all that good stuff?
Yeah, of course, I have to give shout outs to Zach, of course. He's been my testing partner since the very beginning. We're just always grinding it out for every single tournament, every time. He's been great. Yeah, I'm sure part of the reason I've had the success I've had is because of him. So I owe a lot to Zach. And yeah, also did a lot of testing for this tournament. Or I guess we've been sharing information between Daniel Steinberg and Alex Blandon, of course. Got to give the big shout out to Alex, of course. Every time he feeds me a deck or gives me the tech, I always make it in the top. At first, it was the Sortosaurus deck in the Pro Tour, and then yellow for Utrecht, and then this. And we all kind of worked on the deck together, but he was the one that gave me the final push to play red. And he's a really good coach, I suppose. But no, Alex is great. He's been awesome to Zach and I. Yeah, and also big shouts to Daniel. Also, just everyone else that's supported me. I know there's a lot of people that have been rooting for me to get the win. A lot of people in the Discord group, and just thank you to everyone so much. I really appreciate you all. Um, yeah, it's I don't know, just a lot of people that I feel like I owe my success to. I also wanted to give a shout out to my mom actually. So recently, she just passed away a little over a month ago, and it's been pretty hard for me. We had a pretty good relationship. When it came to card games, she's always been really supportive of me, and she always knew I really loved to play card games. Um, I don't know, I just like to play with my friends a lot, go to tournaments, go to locals, and she was always like really lenient with me staying out late, going to friends' places, doing whatever I wanted to play cards. So she always just showed me a lot of support from that, and I I owe a lot of this success to her as well. So I wanted to say uh, thank you thank you, mom, and I love you, and thank you for everything. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely played a big role in your life, and definitely helped shape you to where you are today, especially with being able to get out there and play some card games and keep with the passion. So yeah, definitely a very well-deserved shout out there. So any last thoughts on the meta or anything else before we wrap up this session?
yeah, in terms of the meta, I think Hurricane Highlands could see a bit of a hit. I don't think it needs to be banned. I think green needs something like that, but at the same time, I think it's a little much. It's a little much. I could see something like having to tap it to use the ability, or maybe just once per turn or something happening to it. I do feel it is a little bit oppressive for a lot of the decks in the format, but I don't think it needs a ban. Um, I don't like the way I definitely like this format a lot more than the previous one. I like it more in the Pro Tour meta, and I like it more than the Set 2 meta by a long shot. But I don't like the way a lot of the RPS is like 70-30. It feels like a lot of the matchups are very skewed, and I don't like that very much. Like, I don't know if that's really indicative of Battle Spirits or not, but I'd prefer the matchups to be a little closer to that. I'd prefer it to be like 60-40, maybe 55-45, something like that, just so it doesn't feel as much like matchup roulette, but I don't know. But overall, I feel like it's definitely improving from the Set 2 meta, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that'll only get better as we continue to expand out the card pool where we can have more options. And, I think, again, with the yellow versus red, right, yellow is just always going to take a stomping on that one. But your other matchups, get a lot closer. And then, of course, you can make the right meta call and sideboard appropriately, which can help. But at the end of the day, there are going to still be like that one color that you hate seeing just because of how they naturally want to progress their board state, which is going to be something that can interact with yours and be very destructive when you're trying to rely on so many Nexus and whatnot. But with that, again, huge shout out. Thanks for joining us on this Champions Corner. Again, you've done so great all through the year. Finally got that win. I am sure you're feeling like $1 million now, but it's not over. We still have the Atlanta Grand Open, which will be at Pro Tour 3, and then Worlds, the $250,000 prize pool, where first place is going to walk away with $50K. So there is still a lot on the line as this year goes on. So with that, my friends, on behalf of Matas and I, thank you so much for joining us for another Champions Corner. And as always, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.